Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin. Welcome to the Preservation Board. We'll try to make this painless, but we'll see. I'm going to call a roll to see who's. Commissioner Richardson, are you here? Commissioner Robinson? No. Commissioner Killeen, are you here?
Here.
Commissioner Vines, are you here?
Here.
Alderman Vaccaro, are you here? If I overlooked the commissioner, I have not. Commissioners are present. Not quite yet a quorum, but more than enough to get started. Commissioners, have you had a chance to look through the minutes for September, December, and January to make sure that your concerns were correctly quoted in the minutes? Does anybody have any changes to propose to any of these minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for September and December of 2019 and January of 2020?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Sorry, nay? Any nays?
Abstain.
Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, commissioners, look through the agenda. Look okay to everybody? Is the order okay? Does anybody need to recuse themselves from consideration of any of these items? Okay then, we will begin. Beginning with agenda item A, 3005, 7 and 9 Missouri.
Jan Cameron from the Cultural Resources Office. This is a preliminary review application to construct 3 new townhouses on a 3 current vacant parcels from 3005 to 09 Missouri Avenue in the Benton Park Historic District, and this is the site. It had originally been proposed for development by a different owner who has constructed the house that you see in the center of the screen with the exposed sided wall, which will be obscured by the new construction, and I'm sure that everyone will be happy about that. This is the site. Okay, so there are houses on either side. I would point out that the house to the north is only 1.5 stories, so it's a little smaller in scale than the rest of them. And that's the site plan. There is about a 9-foot gap between the proposed building and the small house to the north. There is less of a gap between it and the 2-story house to the side. This is their model example at 2813 South 18th in Lafayette Square. And a streetscape showing the building in context with it. So you can see that there is a wider side yard on the north side of the property. But this will be, the brick will be returning, here's another picture. On the side elevations, generally when buildings are close, we ask that the brick return the same distance between the buildings, and it is doing that on the south elevation. On the north elevation, they have extended it somewhat, but it isn't. The question is whether there will be perceivable siding at the 2nd story, since it's only a 1-story house, and you'll see that in a second. Rear elevation, and little flounder garages. So, again, this is the site and the small house directly north of it, and the context to the north along Missouri, and the context south on Missouri, and what you see at the very far left is Benton Park, and the context opposite at Crittenden. So most of the buildings are 2 stories or 2.5 stories. There are a couple of smaller buildings there you can see on the right. And then Benton Park. Okay. So we have met with the developer, and they have made some revisions in response to comments by the Cultural Resources Office staff. And the staff is recommending that, subject to the usual conditions of review of final drawings, details, and exterior materials, that the Preservation Board grant preliminary review approval. Before you is a letter by the Benton Park Neighborhood Association, which I was going to address, but I believe that they have a representative here who probably would like to do that. So, questions?
For Jan on this side.
Where's the design? Oh, in perspective, do we have perspective view of that?
I'm sorry?
Can you guys hear?
An elevation. That's okay, we'll see what the client comes up with. That's okay.
I had a question. Did you bring that Mayor Pete sign, or was that already on the street? Jan,
Huh?
did you bring the Mayor Pete sign?
Of course not. I don't indulge in politics.
Okay, we've got the developer and, let's see, we've got the developer and the architect present. Come on up.
Patrick Weber with Ash Design. I'm the architect for this project, and I'm joined by Patty Lito, who is the owner's representative. As Jan had mentioned, this was an opportunity with a change in ownership to reconsider how the site was being used. We decided to go with an attached concept for this project because of the opportunity to better utilize the lots, adding more width to the home than you would get with a single family requiring setbacks on either side. In working with cultural resources, we identified the model example, made several revisions. Also, per the letter that you have seen from the Benton Park Neighborhood Association, we have also, it's not updated in this latest revision, we have revised the windows on the side to be double hung and to be slightly larger than they are now, in the same proportion as the windows in the front. And yeah, I believe that's it.
Ms. Rep, have anything to add? Yes, no?
Dad.
Questions on this side?
Do you have a perspective view so we can see that the bricks can't be seen from the north?
I do not have one with me, no.
That was something that was requested at the Benton Park group, I believe, so. The best we have is that little red rendering at the end there. Did things get adjusted from the Benton Park? Did it go back any further?
We have not moved the brick back any further now.
Issue at all?
I should say this is my kind of little attempt at showing the appearance, and I wouldn't swear to its accuracy.
So that issue wasn't studied?
Not yet, no.
Thank you.
Questions on this side? Excellent. You're well prepared to be sitting here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tim Mulligan.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Tim, looking dapper in that sweater vest.
Well, thank you. Anything to swear in or anything?
Just say your name and your address.
Timothy Mulligan, 3117 Lump Avenue, here representing the Benton Park Neighborhood Association. And just to follow up on the copy of the letter that you have, we did meet with the developer and architect a week or so ago, and it was a very amiable meeting. We were very enthused to see this development. This particular block of Missouri has been a long time to see redevelopment, so we're very pleased with that. And then relative to the letter, if you have any questions, I can address.
Questions
Nope.
on this side? Questions on this side?
Questions?
Thank you very
Good,
much.
thank you.
Okay, commissioners, this concludes the testimony. People who have signed up to speak. Commissioner Vines, have you got a motion?
No, I'm going to pass to my colleague, Commissioner Colleen, on this one.
Commissioner Colleen, have you got a motion?
I move that the Preservation Board approve the design for this project with the following stipulations. That the applicant work with staff to address the issue to assure that brick is not visible from the north, let me see.
You mean siding?
Or siding, we want to see brick visible, thank you, Commissioner Vines. From the, it would be the northeast corner of the property, and that all the provisions 1 through 5 stated in this Benton Park letter are also incorporated into the design.
Second.
Is that motion clear to staff? Barb, is that clear to you?
Yeah, I can read it back if you like.
Nope, I just wanted
Okay.
to make sure that you had it.
Has the staff seen this letter as well?
They gave it to us.
Actually, I want to strike item 5. So 1 through 4. Our guidelines do allow for vinyl siding, and so they're not in violation there.
Vines,
Oh,
is that okay with you?
sure.
Okay, we have a revised motion on the floor that's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the revised motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, commissioners, moving on, agenda item B. Here's Commissioner Krasnov.
I'm Dan Krasnoff with the Cultural Resources Office. So this is a proposed development at 5720 DeGiverville Avenue in the Skinker DeBaliviere Local Historic District. This is a photograph of the site. This is a very exciting and significant project. It will be taking a surface parking lot, which you see in the picture here, and a strip mall, which adds very little to the aesthetic value of DeBaliviere Street, and really markedly improve the urban design and character of the street, with buildings on both sides to the right and left here. I should note that although this project has 2 buildings to it, only one of them does the Preservation Board have review authority over. The building at 5720 DeGiverville is within the Skinker DeBaliviere local district. The building from 331 to 391 DeBaliviere is not within the district, although we'll see a little bit about it in the context of this development, because a single developer is doing both structures. Here you see a site plan, a little bit blurry, sorry about that. The building on the south, down here, is within the district. The long, narrow building up here is not within the district. And the 2 buildings are designed sort of in tandem and sort of design-wise speak to one another. Here's a picture of the south building that is within the district. It is characterized, it's 7 stories tall. The primary building material is brick in a dark color. Additionally, it has a metal facade as well that sets back. And the purpose of that, although the architect can speak to this as well, is to kind of lighten the effect of the massing and height of the building. There will be retail on the first floor along DeBaliviere Street on the building we're looking at here. So what the next picture shows is going west down to DeGiverville Avenue towards the western end of the parcel. The western end of our parcel is over here where you see the end of the parking lot. And then you see these bungalow type houses in Skinker DeBaliviere. So really there's been two key design elements to this project that I think are worthy of some further consideration, although the staff recommendation is for support of this project, as is the neighborhood associations and the aldermans as well. And that is how the building relates at the end to these smaller scale single family homes. So here we see a street view down DeGiverville. One of the things we've been talking about within the staff is how confusing it can be to have DeBaliviere and DeGiverville in the same presentation. So this is DeGiverville running east and west. So our main building is here, and then those single family homes are here to the right-hand side. This is a view looking up DeGiverville. So on the left-hand side, you see the stretch of single-family homes, and on the right-hand side, you see the very end of one of the porches, although it's a little bit hard to see through the trees right here for the bungalow. And then you've got the rest of the new structure, which is to the east of it. I think the architects have taken care in this design to try to deal with the fact that we're going from quite a different scale from the single-family homes to the apartments. And we can address that in a moment. One thing that they've done is have individual entrances to each of the ground floor units along DeGiverville. So you see here there are individual door openings into the units. Now the people who live in the building, assuming they're driving in, will probably enter through the building. But people who come to visit them can enter through a front door that is accessed from the street, which I think is a very nice effort to, again, create that connection to the DeGiverville single-family homes. Here you also can see how the use of the light metal material, I think, will help the upper stories fade away and setting them back as well, which will reinforce the scale when you get closer to those single-family homes here of having that solid brick to match the brick of the homes and being somewhat similar in scale to those. I'd like to show just some other slides of the building now. This is the southern facade of the building. One thing that I think is very nice about this design is that the facade that faces the Forest Park Expressway, so here's the Forest Park Parkway, and then this is the southern facade rather. And by having this amenity deck in the middle of it here, they break up that facade, which will be a combination of brick and metal. I don't have a slide of it, but if you go to the east on Forest Parkway, one of the newer buildings in the DeBaliviere Place neighborhood has a cementatious paneled facade that is one volume and is very tall and really is kind of dominant compared to the brick buildings along there. And in this case, they've broken that up by having this U-shaped facade, and it's not one sort of monolithic elevation. This is the view of the two buildings, the new buildings that developers are proposing together along DeBaliviere itself. So Busey Bank is over here. That used to be Central West End Bank. You've got the building that's not in the district here. It's a shorter building that extends on a longer stretch where that strip shopping center is. It will have ground floor retail as well. I believe that's a grocery store that's planned. And then you have the dark brick that mirrors the building immediately across DeGiverville as well. I'm not going to focus a lot on that building design because, frankly, I don't think there's a point in focusing on something that the board has no design control over, but I do think it's important to note the context and how the buildings relate to one another. This is a view of the west end of the building. I actually meant this slide to be in a different place. So again, to the right here will be the single-family properties that are the historic buildings along DeGiverville. To the left, you see the brick design of the western facade, along with a setback with metal up above it, again to lighten that expression. These are some relatively hard to read on slides, elevation drawings. This is the DeBaliviere elevation. So in this elevation, the Metrolink station is kind of over here, and the strip center that's going away is over here. And then this is the DeGiverville elevation. Again, so you've got retail over on this part of the facade, and then over here, those doors that open into each of the individual units, and then off to the right here are the single-family homes. This is the west elevation that we were just looking at. And finally, the north elevation, which is the one along the parkway. And here are context pictures. So this is the strip center that's going to go away as part of this development. I don't think anyone's going to miss that architectural expression. Diagonally across the street, we see the Telena's Pizza Place. Now, you all recall that at the December board meeting, well, I don't know why it's not continuing. Here, let's. Okay, there we go. So actually, what I'll do then, although I may be tempting fate, this is the Telena's Pizza. Oh, sorry, wrong direction. And then this is the new building that's proposed diagonally across the street. So what we're going to end up with essentially at this intersection, if all this development happens, is 3 new corners at this, in this area. The scale is higher than is sort of typical along DeBaliviere, although there is one 8-story building along the DeBaliviere corridor. But I think in this case, we're creating a new kind of context at this intersection, losing 2 buildings, the Telena's Pizza, and losing the strip center that are of little value, and losing a parking lot and having it replaced by structured parking with residential above. And there are retail spaces on all 3 of these buildings that are proposed. So that's exciting. This is context immediately across the street along DeBaliviere. This is the southeast corner of DeBaliviere and Pershing. And then this is looking west along DeBaliviere, so the new construction would be to our right. The building we were just looking at is to the left, and then you can see DeBaliviere continues off towards the Jefferson Memorial and Forest Park. And then this is a view looking across the Forest Park Parkway. On the far left, you can see those houses along DeGiverville, and the new construction will be sort of right in the center of this image on the other side of the Metrolink station. So the staff is recommending support for this project. The Skinker-DeBaliviere standards, you've got in your write-up the basic comparison to those, but the thrust of the Skinker-DeBaliviere standards, which were just newly approved or renewed a couple years ago, is that they are pretty flexible in their design. I think they anticipated the potential for contemporary design coming into the district, and I think there's a lot here that relates to the historic context by using the brick. I think they've tried to relate to the particulars of DeGiverville by setting the properties back, as I mentioned before, making that metal, which is lighter, and setting it back to reduce the massiveness and the appearance of height of the building. And I think it's a very exciting project, and the staff is recommending support with the usual language about design details being evaluated as we move forward. And I would also add that some of those concerns expressed by the alderman and the neighborhood about the way the western end of it relates to the DeGiverville homes would be considered in that process. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions on this side?
One question. There had been, I guess maybe I can ask this to the developer, there had been a plan for the Kiss and Ride lot on the east side of DeBaliviere, but I guess is that no longer part of the plan?
I don't think that is, but they certainly would be more qualified to speak to it than me.
Thanks.
Questions on this side? Thank you. Commissioners, the architect is present if you have questions. Let's hear from the architect. Questions on this side for the architect?
I guess I'll, my question to you, and I'm gonna pepper my question with a
Sure.
lot of praise, because as a resident of Skinker DeBaliviere for many years, I have seen this project evolve, and I think it looks awesome. I'm really excited for it.
Appreciate it.
Did the Kiss and Ride development get nixed?
I wouldn't say it's gotten nixed. It just hasn't been under development. We've been focusing our attention to these two parcels first, and then we'll kind of hash that out as we get through kind of the crux of these two projects. So that's what we know right now.
Great. Looks great.
But thank you.
What's the main wall material we're seeing?
Brick on the darker outward face, and then metal on the upper portions, and then glass on the retail.
The courtyard, what are you doing in there?
Courtyard, we're doing metal currently. We have two different metal profiles. One that's more analogous to the tonal qualities of the brick, and then the rest of it is the same top metal coloration, vertical. There will be some accent of some cedar accentuation on that lower level as well, because we have walkout units that have that.
Okay, thank you.
Questions on this side?
I didn't get a name.
I'm sorry, that is Joel.
Joel Foose,
Foose.
principal at Trivers Architects.
Questions on this side? Not from Madonna?
It's a good question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Vines, who do you wish to defer your motion to this
Oh,
time?
no, this is my motion. I move that the Preservation Board grant approval to the design with the stipulation that final plans and exterior materials are reviewed and approved by the Cultural Resources Office.
Second?
Discussion?
And what the director mentioned that we should consider for the Alderman and Skinker DeBaliviere Neighborhood Association.
I didn't hear that in the
Yeah,
motion.
can you specify?
Oh, that was for me. Well, just in conversation and reading the correspondence from the alderman in the neighborhood, I do think they do have some concerns about the final design details of some aspects of the project. And while the sole authority to approve and deny permits is with the Preservation Board and with the Cultural Resources Office, of course, we would want to take into consideration concerns they've expressed about any design details regarding particularly the treatment of those units at the very western end of the project. I'd also say that we also, when the board reviewed the project diagonally across the street, there were some concerns expressed by the staff about the proportions of the balconies and the openings. You know, we like to treat like with like, so those are some. But again, those all fall under the aegis of final design details that come forth after the general approval for the project that get worked out generally with the staff and the applicant. So I don't see these as particularly problematic details to be resolved.
Commissioners, there's a motion on the floor that's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Nobody.
Mr. Khalil, did you second that motion?
Yeah.
I
Did
have
you
that.
second that, Mike?
Seconded the motion, Mr. Flynn?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I
Yes,
do.
yes, yes. Thank you.
You were sitting next to me, so I didn't.
Okay, I didn't.
Okay, let's call agenda item C.
Jan Cameron from the Cultural Resources Office. This is another preliminary review application to construct a large multifamily, a 42-unit apartment building, actually, at the corner of Jefferson and Lynch Street in the Benton Park local district. And this is the site, which could use some development. You can see that it's sandwiched in between a lot of historic districts, but our jurisdiction, of course, is the Benton Park District, and it is that corner site. And it is a trapezoid building, I guess that's the right term, as it addresses the contour of the streets. This is the proposed model example. Now, the Benton Park standards do allow flexibility, and therefore the developer is proceeding under the Preservation Board's compatible new construction policy. But he has submitted a model example, which is the basis for all of our review. This is one of them, which happens to be on the same block face, actually. This is the second. And this is the third, which Mr. Colleen probably recognizes. Okay. On the floor plan, and a rendering of the proposal. Now, in the historic standards, it follows very relatively closely the examples submitted, but because there are some deviations, they proceeded to go under the new construction policy. And the deviations generally are that center element with a lot of glass and some balconies that you will see in a moment, which are on the south side, adjacent to the smaller house. Now, while this building is very large, there is a precedent for larger buildings built at the corner of historic neighborhoods. And also, well, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it is much larger than the adjacent buildings, but there are other larger buildings along this area of Jefferson. So this is the Lynch Street elevation, which will be the entry to the garage. The rear elevation with the balconies. And some facade details. So you can see again the central element. I hate these things right here. Okay. So at the suggestion of the Cultural Resources Office, the initial secondary material from the brick is going to be a corrugated metal siding, which is a historic secondary material on a lot of industrial buildings of the 19th and early 20th century, which this is, I lost a photo. This is a context. From the side is on the right. And there it is again, and these are the smaller buildings directly south, but there you can see the model example on the other end of the block. And this building will not be far off the scale of that. Okay, this is looking up Lynch Street, so the building would be directly to the right of these two slides. And this is the opposite context, which is pretty varied, including the Popeyes. So there is some deviation in scale along the site. So the two exceptions are fenestration and architectural details relating to the balconies. Those are allowed exceptions under the policy. And the staff is recommending that the board grant preliminary approval subject to usual conditions. I will say we've had one meeting as required under the policy. Another one is pending if it seems to be necessary, but they have met with the Benton Park Neighborhood Association, and I'm sure Mr. Mulligan will proceed with that. And you have a letter stating their comments on the project in front of you. So, questions?
So the deviations again, I'm sorry, just to clarify.
Fenestration?
Fenestration for that middle
Right.
portion.
And although the rest of the fenestration pattern is pretty close to the model examples.
Even the storefront? I don't see any storefront on those other buildings.
Well, I think the staff felt that that was a reasonable approximation of a historic storefront. Now, the glass is an issue, and that's something we would be considering under details, whether the glass is transparent or not, because will be screening a parking area
Okay.
underneath the building.
Questions?
No questions?
Questions on this side? Thank you, Jen. Okay, we've got, looks like a developer and an architect. Let's hear from them. I like your hesitation.
Sorry,
Should-
I didn't.
Should we come up? Should we
Apologize.
not come up? What's going to happen next? Tell us who you are, please.
Yeah, I'm John Mueller with Gemma. We're the architects for the project.
Drew Sandler with Flyover, and this is
And Kyle Howerton with Flyover Fund.
Now, the flyover is an ongoing joke?
we figured we would take the term back from others and use it positively.
I was pouting about the term this morning, and Director Krasnov says, no, they're joking. Okay, good. Proceed.
So yes, this building is a 57,440 square foot, 4-story mixed-use structure at Jefferson and Lynch. It does contain 42 units, does contain 42 parking spaces, which are under the building. It contains a small retail component on the corner, and it also is comprised of, on the north and west facades, brick, with some articulation. You can see in that elevation, there's some articulation at the base of the brick. But then on the east and south elevations is primarily corrugated metal. So listen to everything that the board said, and it feels that they were accurate in their assessment of the derivations being the glass center component and also the balconies. So here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions on this side? Tony? On this side?
You went to see the Benton Park Group. Were any of their ideas incorporated into the design? Was the
Yes,
design
so-
adjusted at all from that meeting?
Yeah, so basically the, previous to this iteration, we had glass storefront, and the brick, if you see the brick coming down between the windows, the brick didn't come down between the windows. It actually stopped and the curtain wall ran horizontally. So per our meeting with the Benton Park Committee, they asked us to bring the brick down, which we did. Also, they asked us to provide some level of articulation to the masonry at the ground floor level. So we also provided some articulation. We're not 100% there in terms of what that articulation is, but at this point in time, we are showing a masonry pattern, basically pulling every fourth brick out to create a pattern effect on the ground floor. There's also a request to provide film on the two bays of storefront that are the most southern bays along Jefferson to obscure the parking. And so we will provide some translucent film, some kind of film to obscure not being able to see into the parking area. So I know there's a couple other suggestions, I believe, that from a letter that just came out, looking at wrapping the brick further around on the south and further around on the east. Something that we have not done currently. It's certainly something that we're willing to look at from a design standpoint.
Okay.
So those are the things that we did change based on our meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Liz Gerard?
Hi, I'm in the back. I'm in Benton Park. I live on Lynch. I'm going to waive my comment since there's no opposition, but super excited to see this develop.
Tim Mulligan? Liz, just so you know, Tim has never, ever waived an opportunity to speak. In fact, there are times when we have nothing from his neighborhood on our agenda, and Tim is here just waiting for a chance.
That is not true. But thank you for the diligence. Just here to answer and address any questions that the board may have.
See what I mean? He didn't even bring any comments.
I think it'd be helpful if you went through these points and tell us why they're important, please. Do you have your letter?
Oh, sure. You mean on the 5 points? Mm-hmm. Okay. On the the south elevation, after looking at the elevations and then some of the perspectives that were provided, the house that's immediately to the south of the property, the first, I guess it's a 1.5 story home, and it sits probably 30 to 35 feet back, from Jefferson. So in looking at the site and reviewing, we felt that the building, I believe, is going to be 48 feet tall, that we just felt that was, a very immense elevation of, black corrugated metal, to be looking at. So the committee members all were pretty much unanimous, on wanting to see, that first section, if it's, 25 feet, if it's 35 feet, but we would like to see brick. So people traveling north on Jefferson would see more of a traditional material, building. And I know we're disagreeing with the cultural resources on this, which, we respectfully, are doing. But, we will be looking at it every day. So that was our take on that first point.
So 35 feet off the corner all the way up to the roof?
Yes.
Okay. What's the next one?
The second one was just the east elevation, and a similar concern was raised, for folks that would be in the neighborhood traveling west on Lynch Street, approaching Jefferson, that they will see, a large expanse of black metal. After the meeting we had, I, walked, the neighborhood and looked at it. There is a home that's at the it'd be the southwest corner of Indiana and Lynch, which would be immediately, east of the proposed building. And, that building, is 2.5 story. It has a very significant garage structure behind it. So personally, I was less, concerned with that impact, but as we were looking, at the elevation, we thought running, even if it's an industrial metal, down to the ground along an alley, we just, brainstormed that, perhaps there's a more resilient material, that would be appropriate to use along the alley elevation, that cars, trucks, dumpsters, wouldn't ding it up pretty severely. Third elevation, or the third point rather, was addressed relative to the brick, columns.
So they've already taken care of that.
Interspacing along the storefront. And then, John addressed the aspect as far as the glass, that backs up to what would be the, parking garage. Their concept was more so just to see the, activity of, bicycles and creating, a walkable, neighborhood. And we quickly realized that would be very difficult to maintain a pleasing appearance. So we quickly disagreed with them relative to, the glass is fine, for the purposes of light into the structure, but we'd really want to see, do not want to see, vehicles or, bicycles scattered inside. And then the fifth one,
Vehicles or bicycles?
well, they are, but I mean cars or bicycles.
Okay, but you singled out bicycles, just...
Well, it's hard to, park bicycles, that it doesn't present a very cluttered appearance. And that's where, the building, we all felt was, very handsome, will be a, tremendous, investment, to the neighborhood, but we were just concerned about it getting a junked up appearance.
Okay.
And the last point was, now they have addressed, parking, for the apartments, and so it's pretty much a direct ratio of, one unit, one parking.
Not our concern.
Not your concern. I guess it is ours that if, as they develop, the engineering of the structure and they need, 600 square feet of mechanical space and it takes out, 2 parking, stalls, so we're mindful of, the project as a whole and not wanting to see parking, lost.
Okay. Questions on this side?
No, sir. Thank you, Tim.
All right.
Questions on this side?
Good. Thank you.
Commissioner Robinson, have you got a motion over there? Or would you like to defer it to Commissioner Vines?
I am going to, I move that the Preservation Board grant preliminary approval for the new construction with the stipulation that the final drawings, exterior materials, and colors be reviewed and approved by the Cultural Resources Office.
Alderman Vaccaro has seconded that. Is there any discussion?
Would you consider an amendment to your motion?
To add items 1, 2.
Well, if I were to write this motion, I'd say let's get brick returns on the south wall for 2 apartment bays. I don't know, the neighborhood asked for 35 feet. I don't know what that adds up to. And then on the east, it's roughly 1/3. It's that first section of the building before it goes back in. That way we're not looking like we've got bricks that can just peel off the building. It just looks more substantial. This will show quite a bit of a wall to the neighborhood and on Jefferson. Still, it looks a little thin without that. It's a long amendment, sorry.
Let's see. Want to make that change or not?
Yes.
Okay. Second has been withdrawn. Motion needs a second. Seconded by Commissioner Vines.
Did you amend it, Mr. Robinson?
Amended by, about Commissioner, do I need to repeat what the Commissioner said, or can we
Let's see.
amend it based?
Barb, is that clear to you? What the-
Yeah, what I understand the motion is at this point, and please stop and correct me if I'm wrong, is
Sure.
that you recommend, you move that the Preservation Board grant preliminary approval to the proposed construction with the stipulation final drawings, exterior materials and colors to be reviewed and approved by CRO, including brick returns on the south wall for 2 apartment bays and on the east wall be addressed. Is that correct, Mr. Robinson?
And that was 1/3 of the way?
It's roughly 1/3. It's that first bay of their building there,
Yes.
before you get to the balconies.
I don't know if I expressed it the way you read it. Is that
So 2 bays
2 apartment bays on the
on the
south.
south, and
Let's say 3 window bays on the east. That first section.
Is that the motion that you seconded, Mr.
It is the amended motion.
So could the staff ask for a clarification
Pardon me, to be clear, it's just bringing bricks to here.
to there? Okay, and then on the other side, whoops.
It's the first section. We gotta go.
It's the bottom. The bottom is the Lynch Street side.
Well, it'd be the alley side.
That side?
It's this guy right
Okay.
Clear to staff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's an amended motion on the floor that has been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioners, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 5 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back into session. I'm going to call agenda item D. Is there anybody here to speak on agenda item D? So make your presentation as abbreviated as you care to make it.
Okay.
And give us your recommendation, and we'll then entertain a motion.
Okay. I'm Andrea Gagan, and I swear to tell the truth. This is for 3011 and 3015 McNair Avenue. It's an appeal, so I need to introduce into the record ordinance 64689 as amended by 64925.
Wait,
And
this is an appeal?
She announced it's an appeal.
the Benton Park Historic District Ordinance 67175.
Which one is it? Is this a new application, or is this an
No, it is
appeal?
an appeal.
Okay.
And then also the PowerPoint and the agenda. Right. This is the lot in question. It's actually 2 parcels. There we go. This is the site plan for the proposed buildings. There are 2 attached townhouses. This was the submitted model example for the buildings, although it doesn't really, there are elements from it that they took from it, but it doesn't really match what the building proposed is. And actually, it looks less like it now because there have been some changes in response to some things we said. This is the streetscape. As you can see, the windows still appear to be quite a bit smaller than the adjacent buildings. And although this building has a door of this style, it's really not appropriate. They're really not appropriate for this building. There are also some issues with the proposed material of the foundation, and also the doors being on the outside instead of in the middle. It's kind of unusual for this style of building. And it's just a closer view of the front elevation. And the north and south elevations. The south elevation returns 5 feet, which is the amount of room between the 2 buildings on that elevation. However, it only is 5 feet on the north, and there are 13 feet between the buildings on that location. And the remainder of the side facades are proposed to be vinyl siding. This is just the rear elevation. And the buildings on either side of the proposed buildings. And some context across McNair. And then just some additional context on the west side. The proposed design for the new building is based on an appropriate model example. However, buildings vary significantly from the model example. The proposed building deviates in proportion, detailing, arch size, entry, foundation treatment, and parapet design. The brick return on the north side is not sufficient, and there are a number of smaller details that need to be addressed. Based on those preliminary findings, we recommend the board uphold the director's denial for the new construction.
Go back through and tell me what you introduced by way of documents.
The enabling ordinance and the ordinance that's amended by the Benton Park Historic District Ordinance, the PowerPoint, and the agenda.
Questions on this side from staff?
No question.
Questions on this side from staff? Hey, Tim Mulligan for testimony. Tim, because this is an appeal, I'd ask you to state your name, address, and tell us you're going to tell us the truth.
And tell us what? Oh. Timothy Mulligan, 3117 Lemp Avenue, here on behalf of the Benton Park Neighborhood Association.
Mr. Mulligan, will your testimony be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Friday, when the agenda was distributed by email, was the first occurrence of us having a chance, to review this document. So as we were not able to schedule a meeting and review this with our committee people, we're deferring, most of the comments, as Andrea Gagan has pointed out, that they do not, comply. In looking through, the drawings provided, I would just like to note that they have their south and north elevation, mislabeled. The south should be the north should be the south. And relative to the site plan shown, there's a projection off of the existing house, that would appear to be encroaching, setback on that side of the property. So I'm not sure how the building commissioner handles window openings apart from that. Not really our deal, but the point being is that I don't think they've sufficiently, provided, buildable information for review.
Questions for this witness? Questions for this witness? Thank you very much. I ask again, is there anyone here representing New Solutions Development LLC? Okay. Alderman Vaccaro, have you got a motion?
Motion is that the preservation board directed to allow substitute townhouses complying with the benchmark scope district.
Okay, for those listening at home who missed the fact that he wasn't anywhere near the microphone,
I can read.
motion was to uphold the director's denial.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Commissioners, I'm going to call a roll. Alderman Vaccaro, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Vines, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
That's 4 yeses, no nos, and the director's denial of a permit is upheld. Okay, let's do agenda item E.
Bethany Moore of the Cultural Resources Office. I swear to tell the truth. This is 5260 Westminster Place. It may look familiar to you. It was here at the board last meeting. It was an appeal of the director's denial to retain a front porch that was replaced without a permit. I'm just going to give you a quick recap of that. So here is the property. That is the porch in question on the front. The roof was replaced with GAF timberline, which replicates wood shake, whereas per the standards, we would have told them if they had come in first that GAF timberline or GAF slate line is what is an approved material to replicate the original slate. Then here's where it is. There's a better picture. The last time the board made the decision, oh here I brought some letters for you guys. Here, I'm gonna keep one. In January, the board's decision was to overturn the director's denial with the stipulation that the appellant produce a letter of support from the neighborhood association. In keeping with that, the Cultural Resources Office did contact the neighborhood association, and the neighborhood association said that they are not in opposition to the project as is, but they will not write letters of support for projects that are done without a permit. And because of that, it is now back before the Preservation Board.
Okay. Questions, Commissioners? Okay. Mark Wade. Mr. Wade, your name?
Mark Wade, 5260 Westminster Place. I come before the board again.
And
I
you
do
have-
swear to tell the truth.
Even a promise or just a nod would be fine.
Truth. I don't disagree with anything she said. I went home per Mr. Colleen's direction to get a letter of approval from what I understood to be my neighborhood association. I submitted it and was told that that's not good enough. I was directed to contact Mr. Jim Dwyer, who is apparently the chairperson for the board that I should have gone to, and I did. I spoke with him over the phone, and he indicated to me that he did direct someone from his committee to go and look at the project and that they had no opposition to it, but that he would decline to either take a positive or negative stance regarding it. And so I'm just looking for direction because I've hit a dead end.
So you would say, Mr. Wade, that the ball is back in our court?
Sure.
Okay, stand by. Commissioner Killeen, have you got a motion?
Do we have a copy of that letter? I don't know if I ever saw it.
I have.
Let me get it stamped as an exhibit.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I do have a motion, Mr. Chairman. I would like to read this first.
Okay.
Here's the extras.
Thank you.
Okay. So, yes, I move that the Preservation Board overturn the director's denial for this project and allow it to stand as constructed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This was pretty well discussed the last time. Do we want to discuss it further today?
No.
Okay, Commissioners, there's a motion on the floor that has been made and seconded. I'm going to call a roll. Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Vines, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Vaccaro, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
4 yeses. The appeal is upheld.
Thank you.
Okay, let's call agenda item F.
Andrea Gagan, I still swear to tell the
Yes.
truth. This is 3008 Missouri Avenue. And I'm submitting into the record ordinance 64689 as amended by 64925. The Benton Park Historic District Ordinance 67175, PowerPoint in the agenda. Okay, this is the building in question. And this is just a site plan. It's close to Missouri and Crittenden. This is the existing window and brick mold at 3008 Missouri. The window was changed at some point to a flathead window. Don't know when that happened exactly. And there was a piece inserted here, I'm assuming for a storm window. At some point, the trim was also wrapped. Some of the wrapping has come off, which is why we know that it was a round head window originally. This is a window next door, which still has its round head opening. Okay, let that, really much of that. The owner is applying to install 4 flathead windows on the front facade. The interior of the windows has also been changed to a flathead opening at some point. In looking at the windows, they appear to be exactly the same as the opening, at least in the brick mold, as what is next door. And because they do not meet the historic district standards, because they do not retain the original appearance, we had to deny them, and the owner is appealing. Do anybody have any questions?
Questions on this side? Yes.
Just curious. So they have not put the windows in yet?
No, they have not done any work. Right.
Questions on this side?
All right, hold on, let me try to understand all this. So you've shown us two windows in the next slide, is that right? No, there's another one.
This is a window next door, which is still has the original, I don't think it's the original sashes, but the original opening.
Okay.
And then this one theirs have been altered at some point. If you look up underneath there, you can still see the round head.
Okay, and so when they're going to replace, you want them to put in the rounded head?
Right, we want to put in a round head sash, and they're wanting to go back with basically what's there now, which is a flathead.
Okay. Got it, thank you.
Randy, anything?
I don't have any questions. No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's hear from the appellant.
Hi, I'm Beth Hakes with Renewal by Anderson Windows, and I'm here with Cassie and Tim Dowling. I'm the design consultant. If you pull up the whole house...
Before you begin.
Yes.
Can you tell us where to find you again?
3856 Berkeley, Alton.
Okay, and is your testimony going to be the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
If you pull up the whole house, and we have pictures of it as well.
Hold on just one second.
Okay. Thanks. I was told that because of the top left window, if you're looking at it where the lintel is gone, that if that would still be there intact, they would have never known that they weren't originally round windows. And that's why this is being denied. We also do, with Renewal by Anderson, lots and lots of historical that have always been approved in the St. Louis area. I have a half a dozen addresses with me in this zip code. Quite frankly, I was shocked. I've never had one not approved. But it's my understanding that it's because of that top left window that you could see what it was originally. And we do brick mold, we do extension jam and casing. Everything we do is too historic.
Can you do an arched window?
We cannot.
Your firm can. It can be done though, right?
Somebody could do it. Yeah, we can't do it. They're few and far between to find.
Are the windows already purchased or
No.
ordered? Anything? Okay. Thank you.
Further more questions for this witness?
Could I respond?
Sure.
Jan Cameron, Cultural Resources Preservation Administrator. I swear to tell the truth. This building, the windows were changed prior to the designation of Benton Park District as a historic district, when there was no necessity for anyone to get a permit. The arched windows are an important character-defining feature of this building. Now, that it is true that many windows have flat heads. This one did not. And what you're referring to as a lintel is actually a wrapping that was installed so that one didn't have to paint the exterior trim. And when that was revealed, it was obvious that the brick mold carried on. I guess I can have a picture here. If you'll bear with me. Yeah, here we go. You can see that the brick mold carries on up underneath the arch, which is characteristic of an arched window. Had this been a flat-headed window originally, the brick mold would have returned at the flat head of the window and returned down, and there would have been an eyebrow inserted above that. That's not the case. So the point of designating a historic district is anything that's non-conforming at the time is grandfathered in and can be kept until the owner elects to change it, at which point it should be brought back to a conforming appearance. So that's why we denied the permit.
Thank you.
With the use of brick mold, and if we put an eyebrow on top,
Dan, get a question.
if we used brick mold, not cap it, like we do on all of the historical, we could put an eyebrow on top. Would that be a different story?
Well, that would be a determination for the board.
Okay.
To be authentic and comply with the standards, you would need to put arched windows.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a question.
We still have, is it a window question?
Oh,
or-
sorry.
We have the appellants next.
Oh, okay, then I'll ask them. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. The appellants?
Cassandra Dowling, swear to tell the truth, co-owner at
Jim Dowling.
at 3008 Missouri, put in for the permit on this guy. All I wanted to mention was that we did walk the neighborhood after we received our denial, just to check and see what the other houses in the area looked like. And we found that the vast majority had brick arches and square-topped windows. And since we are only replacing the 4 front windows, we wanted to keep the same style on the entirety of the house, because one side of the house, it does have exposed windows on the side. In addition, to add the 2-inch arch window almost doubles the cost of the windows, which puts it outside of our financial capabilities, especially considering the extent of the rest of the repairs needed on the home.
Do you have documentation to support the last statement?
The extent of the repairs?
The cost beyond your financial capabilities?
I have the cost of what she spent and how much extra it would be to do arched.
You want to introduce that as evidence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't she state she couldn't do that?
We'll see.
What Tim and Cassie spent, I mean, if you don't mind me saying, for the 4 windows on the front, this is doing brick mold. This is making it look historic. This is split jamb encasement. Total job amount was $10,377. It's an added $7,000 for us to do an arch window, which would also be aluminum clad, which does not look like wood, versus our composite material that does look like wood. Quite frankly, the Fibrex looks a whole lot better, lasts a lot longer than an aluminum clad window. It's going to have more of a historical look, even if they did spend the extra money, which of course they don't want to.
I'm confused. You stated earlier you couldn't do arched windows.
We can, we typically don't. We try to stick with the Fibrex material, so I apologize.
Not the correct material.
Yeah, not in the correct material. It's few and far between.
And have you spoken to other suppliers to check this price? I'm asking the owners now.
The only other supplier that we're aware of has a multi-year wait, so we did not speak with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And do you have any evidence of your own financial capabilities?
I'm not on hand.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add for your appeal? Commissioners, questions of the appellant or the window?
No, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Killeen, have you got a motion?
No, I'm going to pass on this one.
Commissioner Vines?
Was Tim talking on this one or not?
I'm sorry. Yes, Tim? No. Did you want to add something to this?
Just real quickly.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tim, would you mind just staying at the podium
We'll just get him another
the
podium.
rest of the evening?
So this is an appeal?
This is an appeal.
Timothy Mulligan, 3117 Lump Avenue, here representing the Benton Park Neighborhood Association, and I swear to tell the truth. After reviewing the agenda item and traveling up and down this particular block of Missouri, there is a mix, of window types, of window, ages, and I think from the neighborhood's, vantage, while we would like, to achieve authenticity, in buildings that are renovated like this, personally, speaking, there's enough instances of the flat, insert, above the window and the brick molding, wrapping, the two sides and the head of the window done correctly, it will blend in well with many other historic buildings throughout the neighborhood. So that would be our request, is that if it is changed to a flat top window, that it's done, accurately, to what these were constructed 100 years ago. That's it.
Thank you. We just did. They did not have.
Mhm.
Commissioner Killeen, you have a motion?
Yes, I move that this issue be tabled until the next Preservation Board meeting to allow the applicant to provide evidence of their financial hardship in this matter, and perhaps also to allow them to shop around a little bit to see if they can actually put an arched window in here per the standards.
Second.
Motion has been made, and then it was subsequently seconded by Commissioner Vines. Discussion. What are you thinking?
Oh, well, when folks say that they can't afford things, we usually do ask for some kind of evidence of that. So that could be, what do we do, tax returns or bank account statements or?
Document and bids, estimates, whatever they feel like is the evidence they'd like to show you.
Right, and then the folks, whoever writes these standards in the different districts, they take them pretty seriously. A lot of volunteer hours went into them, so I think it would behoove you to perhaps do a little bit of research. There are other companies out there that could perhaps provide an arched product that would meet the standards. So perhaps you could just show up with that quotes from those different firms, and we'll talk again in a month. So, assuming this motion passes, yes, sir.
Commissioners on this side? Any discussion? Okay. There's a motion on the floor to defer this for a month to allow the appellant time to review other suppliers and/or to produce evidence of financial hardship. I'm going to call a roll. Alderman Vaccaro, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Vaccaro?
I said yes.
Yes. Commissioner Killeen?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Vines?
Yes.
That is 4 yeses. The motion passes, and this matter is deferred for a month. Commissioner Mulligan, you want to add anything at this point? Okay. Agenda item G.
Andrea Gagan. I still swear to tell the truth. I want to submit into the record the enabling ordinance 64689 is amended by 64925. The Skinker Bolivar Historic District Ordinance 70821, and the agenda in the PowerPoint. This is 6211 Delmar. What the heck? That is not, okay, this is what it used to look like. Not the right picture. This is the site plan. And this is the revised sign package that was submitted late last week, which is now consists of 4 signs, 2 on each elevation. This is the signs that will be at the corners, at the front, over the entrance, and they are metal letters with they're halo lit instead of being backlit, showing through this, the letters at this time. And they changed the color to black. The other two signs on each side are similar to the previous blade signs, although they changed the color to black and white, and moved the one so that it's indicating exactly where you go into the drive-through pharmacy on the Skinker side. Now, I don't know if, I am assuming that on this Delmar side, that sign would not have an arrow. That's not the entrance to the pharmacy, but those still are backlit. So the signs still do not meet the historic district standards in that there are more than one on each elevation. They're still slightly above the square footage for each side, and the one, the blade signs are still backlit. And this is just showing where they are on the Skinker elevation. I believe this is the entrance to the pharmacy drive-through. This is the Delmar elevation. It's not quite finished. And the Skinker elevation. As I said, they have come closer to meeting the historic district standards, but we can't recommend approval or of the signs as they still do not meet the historic district standards.
And what is the building going to be?
It's a CVS.
A secret CVS or one that they expect to attract customers to?
Yes, they obviously do need to have signs.
Questions on this side?
So how far off are we from the standard?
Originally they were at, I think, 97.2 square feet on each side. 40 is allowed. Now I believe they are at like 54 on each side, so they've reduced it by quite a bit, the size. At one point, there were 3 signs on each side. They've removed one of the signs, which is mainly why there's the decrease in the square footage. The CVS above the entry is not, while it's not front lit, it's not technically backlit. It's halo lit, so it's around the letter. It shows around the letters instead of through the letters. But the blade signs are still backlit.
Do we have any support or opposition letters?
We don't. I did talk to Nancy Homan from Skinker Bolivar Neighborhood Association, and they kind of want to stay out of it and let us deal with it.
Oh, okay.
I guess because I'm familiar with the area, and there are an awful lot of signs that are much larger, all around in neighboring buildings.
Yeah, the thing is that they did change the historic district standards a couple years ago, so I'm not sure that the square footage requirement was in the previous. I don't think that was in the previous standards.
Okay, thanks.
How many square feet is that bowling lady?
That's.
Questions on this side?
And it also
For staff?
illuminates.
Okay, thank you very much. Like 3 states.
I'm sorry.
Here.
Sorry.
Man.
Before I forget, these are just the new signs package. If you can look at them.
You all may arrange your presentation in any way that you want to. Just tell us your names, where we can find you again, and affirm that your testimony will be the truth.
Okay. My name is Gary Potts. I am the owner of Professional Permits. My offices are located at 58171 Dragonfly Court in Osceola, Indiana. I'm here today representing CVS Pharmacy, the proposed tenant, and Pace Delmar Associates LLC, who's the property owner. CVS Pharmacy wishes to install 2 main ID signs as shown in the revised artwork that you just received. The main ID signs have been revised to be black in color. They've been shrunk in size, and we've gone from a backlit to a halo lit illumination. We propose one of those on each street frontage, and the blade signs that we have done, what was presented before said CVS Pharmacy on those. What we've done with those is we've taken the drive-through pharmacy wall sign off of the wall and put that information on the blade signs. So those are still backlit. However, we feel that those are more used for wayfinding than they have any commercial value. They're for the people who want to know that there is actually a drive-through pharmacy located there, because if you drive by, you will not have any idea that that location has a drive-through pharmacy unless those signs are there. The overall square footage from the original proposal has been reduced nearly 45%, and as I said, we've reduced the number of signs from 6 to 4. We provide we believe what we have put together will allow for proper visibility of the store while adding wayfinding for the pharmacy. The CVS Pharmacy is an excellent corporate citizen. We strive to maintain a proper balance between ample public wayfinding and municipal signage requirements. We feel this is the ideal amount of signage for this location, and we respectfully seek approval of our denial appeal based upon this revised submittal. I do have with me today Mr. Richard Smart from CVS Pharmacy, as well as Mr. John Wilk from Bill Yount Sign and Electric, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Would you ask Mr. Smart if he brought my prescription?
I'm not a licensed pharmacist.
I don't know if that's legal in Missouri yet, sir.
Okay, commissioners on this side, questions for the appellants?
No.
Commissioners on this side, questions for the appellants? Staff? Final word? Stay up 1 second, just in case
No problem.
there is a question asked of you, or you have something else to
Dan
add.
Cameron, whatever, I swear to tell you.
It's going to look really good in the minutes.
First, I want to say that we do appreciate you considering the impact of the signs on the historic district. But we have yet one more request,
Okay.
and that is, would you consider reversing the colors of the blade sign so that the text is white, but the background is dark?
That would be an answer for Mr. Smart, and
I don't think that would be a problem.
Excellent. So in that case, I think we are,
Technically, what we're looking at is more of a wayfinding sign.
Sure.
So from everything that was there before, I don't know, so we didn't get the memo, whatever was going on there. But to the point that we made sure that the CVS Pharmacy branding sign is actually smaller than the allotted amount of sign. It's that much under, but it is, if it was just the only signs we had, we would be compliant.
and we appreciate that very much. But if we could get that little switch, then we would be fully in support of the proposal.
so basically what she's proposing is the face of the blade sign you wouldn't see any illumination because it would be black. So you'd only see the white CVS letters that would have illumination.
Floating as if by magic.
So moved. Can I do that?
Second.
Because this is in fact an appeal, let's state a motion.
Yes, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Chairman, if you had something else to say, but I did interrupt you, didn't I?
I will at discussion time. I would only say that, blade signs always remind me of our consideration of.
Here we go.
Of other blade signs in the past, and I believe that I said that I would never vote against a blade sign.
I do recall that. I move that the Preservation Board overturn the director's denial with the stipulation that the text on the blade sign be white and the background be dark on that particular sign.
Second. Add a motion.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. I would only add, since we know how St. Louisans behave, the primary purpose of the sign is to identify the building as a CVS so that we can say, down the block from the CVS, and in 100 years, that's where the CVS used to be.
Who would make the background cardinal red?
Ooh, that sounds good.
As opposed to black?
Okay, Jan's going to leap over her desk. Okay, Commissioners, there's a motion on the floor that has been made and seconded. Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen, do you vote yes or no?
Yes. Well,
Commissioner,
I was thinking about that cardinal red.
Commissioner Vines, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Vaccaro, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
That is 4 yeses. The appeal is upheld with a condition. That's right. The appeal
So
is upheld with a
it was, the color was, it was dark, so that would be the red. Your colors are white and red, right?
Correct.
So it's white on the letters and dark, so the red on the background. Well, not black. Yeah.
Not black as a background?
Dan, you're good with that, right?
Well, the red, you're so gonna get back on.
Oh, it was black. Okay, motion stands as written.
What about if we do?
Can I just say something? We can, that can.
We have voted and your appeal's been upheld.
I know, we're still talking about the blade, though.
You could talk.
We
us
can make
into
it so that
reversing
red will not have any light protrude through. It would be, so the only thing that would be illuminated would still be the CVS letter set, whether it's red or black.
Can we work this out with them, not in front of the board?
Yes. Yes, you can. Director's report.
I don't have one.
The director's report is no report. Do I hear is there any other business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, hearing no objections, we stand adjourned. Commissioners, thank you very much. Mr. Mulligan, thank you. Everybody else in the audience, thank you.